What's up, YouTube? If you don't already know who I am, my name is Mecca. This channel is called Mecca.mp4. I basically come on the internet, talk about my life, my journey as a Christian entrepreneur, and basically just share my thoughts on relevant topics and just share my perspective. Today, I wanted to talk about what is the point without purpose? What is the point without purpose? We spend so much of our lives just chasing things. But when you really just pause for a second and just sit still, you realize that those things ultimately aren't satisfying. No matter how much you achieve, how much you get, how much you gain, they never can sustain you long term. And in the end, you're always just gonna need more and more and more and more until, I don't know, you crash. As Christians, especially Christian entrepreneurs, we forget the fact that these material possessions, things like money, cars, fame, notoriety, success, all these things are passing, they're fleeting. Yes, they're great, but it's not the end all be all. We know that no matter how much we attain, that God is still all we need in our lives. But it's still easy, especially I'll speak for myself, to just get caught up in all the pursuits of the world. We always dream constantly of all the things we desire, all the things we want out of life. And in the end, we end up treating God as if he's some type of genie just to grant us our wishes and answer our prayers for just monetary success. And we kind of completely disregard the actual purpose of having reverence for God, to review our hearts and to give us the fruits of the Spirit, and not just see him as someone we go to when we want something monetarily. And it's actually so funny because especially when you hear people that say they don't believe in God, or that there's no God, and that we're just here because a bunch of rocks smashed together and now you're here on planet Earth. A lot of the time when you hear them answer the question of what's the point of life or what's the purpose of life, a lot of them usually, most of the time, a lot of the time, they believe the point of life is to either get rich or to live their life to the fullest or to cherish family, or whatever worldly term they want to use. But in reality, without purpose, and I mean real purpose, the purpose that comes from God, there's actually no point in life whatsoever. All these things that we think in the worldly context are of value and that we value and treasure as humans are 100% vanity at the end of the day. Because if you think of Solomon, right? This guy, Solomon in the Bible, man had everything. He had all the women, he had all the land, all the riches, the desires a man could ever ask for. If you think about Drake and Elon Musk smashed together, that's basically what Solomon was in terms of like his reach and access to everything in the world. And even Solomon, he realized that all these things, all the possessions, all the things he had in his life were all meaningless without having God in his life. Without having the purpose that God bestows in you, how he works through you in your life, there's actually no purpose to life whatsoever. And you don't have to be as rich or have as many things as Solomon to come to this understanding or to realize this. Even in my own personal experience, back in 2020, when the PS5 was hot, everybody wanted the PS5. I was literally living and breathing to try to get this PS5. I was camping outside of stores. I was setting up different laptops and computers and phones, trying to get in queue lines to get this PlayStation, because there was no way I was gonna, back then people were trying to resell the PlayStation on eBay for like $2,000. There was no way I was doing that. So I was really obsessing over trying to get this PS5. I was thinking that once I got this console, like at the time, it was like all my worries, they're gonna be taken care of. I'm not gonna be thinking about nothing. I'm just gonna be on the game. I'm gonna be chilling. And long story short, I eventually ended up getting the PlayStation after camping outside of Walmart one night in the cold. It was crazy. I ended up getting this PlayStation and it was good, like all things in the moment, it was great. I had it, I was on Instagram, like, yeah, I got my PS5, XYZ. But just like all things, it's fleeting, right? Even though I got this possession, I got this desire that I wanted, I was craving for so long, it eventually, you know, fleeted. I wasn't looking at this thing to fulfill all my life desires, but in the moment, it seemed like this possession was really going to sustain or like keep me satisfied for a while. And in reality, I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm gonna be honest, 3 months later, I ended up selling my PlayStation anyway. So that just goes to show you that even on the little scale, on things that happen in our own lives, these things don't mean much. Anything that we can possess in the physical world, we can't fill a eternal desire with temporary solutions. It just doesn't work. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's pleasure. For some people, it's going on vacation, having a car, a house, XYZ. All these temporary desires don't mean anything. We think if we can just get more and more and more of something, that eventually we'll feel something. And even Solomon, a man who had all the things a man could ever want in this life, he still realized that it was all vanity. money. And a lot of the time, you hear people that get super, super rich and they still don't feel happy. I'm not saying that you can't, work for things you want, have money, be rich, XYZ, have possessions, whatever. But it's once you start looking at the possessions to fulfill you, that's when it all goes left. You can't look at the things, the items, the physical aspects of this world and think it's going to satisfy you and fulfill that eternal hole in your heart. It's just not going to work. It doesn't matter if you buy the newest phone, get the newest car, whether you're leasing it, buying it, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. In the moment, it feels incredible, but just like everything, the moment passes, feelings fade away, and then you're on looking for the next best thing. It's always fleeting. It's always passing. The verse Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 10 says, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This is also vanity." No matter how much you have, no matter how much you obtain in this life, there's always a bigger house, there's always a better car, there's always a higher level of success to obtain. And once again, I want to be absolutely clear when I say this. By no means am I not saying strive for the things you want, the things that you desire that are in accordance to God's will. I'm not saying don't do that, because there's things I desire. I know there's a lot of things that, I desire for my family, for myself. I like cars. I like things like that. I'm not saying you can't strive for those things and want to achieve those things and have those things. But it realistically comes down where we prioritize and put our hearts. Do we put our hearts in having motion and, getting to the bag and having this and XYZ and having all these things? Or do we put our hearts in God, knowing that God's going to provide whatever happens, that we want God's will to be enacted in our lives? That's what I'm saying. If you don't have purpose, if your purpose doesn't come from God, there's realistically no point in literally anything. Whether you're poor, whether you're rich, if God is not in the mix, if God is not leading your life, everything is vanity. For there's another verse. It's in Ecclesiastes. I love the book of Ecclesiastes. Just if you haven't read Ecclesiastes, just think of Proverbs, but it's like Super Saiyan 3 of I don't want to put on a hierarchy, but Ecclesiastes is a really good book, and it's kind of similar to Proverbs. They're both written by King Solomon. It's chapter 12, verse 13, and it says, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Everything that we have is excess. Our whole duty is to fear God and keep his commandments, to live for Christ and keep his commandments. If you're blessed and fortunate enough to be able to have success, have wealth in this life, all that is excess. All of that is just a gift from God, and you should celebrate every single day that God has blessed you with that. And refresh others how God has refreshed you. And you just got to realize that all that extra is excess. Our whole duty is to fear God and keep his commandments. Love your neighbor, do good work, follow Christ, bear fruits, sow into people, spread the gospel, things like that. That's where we should be getting our purpose from. That's the point of life, right? If there's no purpose, there's no point. So I just want you to realize, when you live for God, your life takes on a whole different dimension. Suddenly, life isn't just about making money or just, trying to achieve a vacation or a higher level of status. It's about serving others, being a servant for others, glorifying God in all your works, even if it's little things. Use your relationships. Our relationships aren't merely about just companionship and hanging out. It turns into, how can God use me in this relationship to better expand the kingdom, to let the kingdom be known, to let God's glory be shown through me? That's what it becomes. When we're chasing wealth, when we're chasing success, we're always competing. We're always in this vain race of just nothingness, to be honest. When you rest in assurance of God's purpose for your life and God's grace, love, plan for your life, you can just rest easy knowing that regardless of whatever you obtain, whatever you achieve in this life, that in the end, it's not the end all be all. What the real goal is the kingdom of God. True joy doesn't come from the things we obtain. True joy comes from the fear of the Lord, the love of the Lord, and living in his will and purpose for your life. So I hope I spit a bar to anybody that heard this. I've been trying to make this video for a minute. Let me know what y'all think, man. Let me know if y'all want me to keep doing these kind of videos. I'm kind of just talking from my own perspective. I hear things related to my own life and I throw it into a video, and I hope it helps somebody else. So continue to keep praying, Be intercessors. Pray for your friends, your family. Pray for me too, I need prayer as well. Staying on this journey. Stay disciplined. Pray for the Lord to increase your faith. And yeah, so once again, my name is Mecca. The channel is called Mecca.mp4. Peace.